Hello, grade 8 learner. Welcome to another mathematics video lesson. Today, we will be discussing the definition of functions. Based on the K-12 curriculum learning competency, the learner illustrates a function. So, prepare your pen, paper, and module as you start watching and learning from this video lesson. Happy learning! Refer to your Quarter 2, Module 3 entitled Relation and Function for this lesson. In this example, we identify which of these situations or set of values represent a function. Let us observe what is given. In set A, we have a set of ordered pairs with values for x and y. Set B is a table that compares prices to the appliance. The third set is a graph of an equation. Observe that this graph is not a straight line but a curve, or what we call as a parabola. Let us process what we know. We have observed which quantities are being compared in each set of situations. How do the values of each quantity correspond to the values of the other quantity? We see that each value of one quantity corresponds to at least one value of the other quantity, so this makes each situation a relation. Now that we know that each situation is a relation, how do we know if they are functions? A function is a special type of relation where each element or value of the domain matches or corresponds to exactly one element of the range. Thus, we have to study each situation to check that each value of one quantity in a situation corresponds to one value of the other quantity. Let us solve by checking how the values of the domain correspond to the values of the range. First, let us study the values of set A. This example is example 1 on page 9. We list the values of x and the values of y. According to the situation, each value of x corresponds to one value of y. This shows that each value of the domain corresponds to only one value of the range. Next, we study the kind of appliance to its price. This example is found on page 10, example 2, letter A. For each appliance, there is one corresponding price. But according to the table, a refrigerator and a washing machine both cost 14,000 pesos. This shows that more than one value of the domain corresponds to one value of the range. Lastly, we look at the graph of an equation. This example is found on exercise 2, item number 8 on page 11. From the graph, we could see that for one value of x, there are at least two values of y. But to determine whether this graph is the graph of a function, we use what we call as a vertical line test. In this test, we draw a straight vertical line through any part of the graph. If the vertical line passes through only one point on the graph passed the test. If the vertical line passes through at least 2 points on the graph, then the graph failed the test. So, when we applied the vertical line test on the graph given, we see that the graph failed the vertical line test. After solving, we state the conclusion. A relation is a function if every value of the domain corresponds to exactly one value of the range. All of the situations given in this example is a relation, but which of them is a function? In set A, we saw that each value of x, which is the domain, corresponds to only one value of y, which is the range. This shows that set A is a function. For the second situation, each appliance corresponds to a price. Even if two values of the domain have the same value of range, it still means that both values correspond to only one value of range. The second situation is still a function. Lastly, graphs of equations can be tested with the vertical line test. Since the parabola intersected the vertical line in 2 points, this graph does not illustrate a function. And this ends our video lesson. I hope that you have learned a lot from this short video because, to quote the Chinese philosopher Confucius, education breeds confidence, confidence breeds hope, and hope breeds peace. We'll see you again in our next video lesson.